This episode of the Beaute Industry podcast was brought to you by Murad Skincare Australia. Hello and welcome to the Beaute Industry podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beaute Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beaute Industry. Today my guest is Natalie McGrath from JOSO. Natalie is a Perth-based naturopath with over 16 years clinical experience specialising in women's health. Natalie is highly qualified with a Bachelor of Health Science Naturopathy and a Bachelor in Science in Environmental Biology, and also is a lecturer at the Endeavour Naturopathic College. So that makes her the perfect person to hear from today. Natalie saw that her clients wanted natural, non-toxic products to look after themselves and their skin that they could fit into their daily routine, which were effective and backed by scientific evidence. This is when Natalie decided that there wasn't anything in the market that fitted this description and spent 2 years in research and development, along with collaborating with additional researchers to develop the philosophy behind JOSO. Today, we asked Natalie our Beaute community's most frequently asked questions about skin conditions and get an exclusive insight into some of the naturopathic solutions. From JOSO, today we welcome Natalie McGrath. Natalie, thank you so much for joining me on the Beaute Industry podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. We were just chatting offline about how this conversation is, held with bated breath because it's been quite some time. So I am even more excited in the anticipation. I think sometimes, it's that waiting for something to happen that makes you, makes the end goal just that little bit more special. So I'm excited we can have this chat today. Look, we start all of our podcast episodes going right back to the beginning of our guest career, and I'd love to start with you there. How did you enter the professional aesthetic industry and also land your pathway with naturopathy?
Yeah, wow. It's been a long journey, actually. When I left high school many, many, many years ago, I actually studied environmental biology. And I just loved the botany side of things, the herbal medicine side of things. And so it was a natural progression for me to go study naturopathy. And that was 18 plus years ago now. So, a lifetime ago. And I just loved how we can utilize herbal medicine. And from that, with naturopathy, it has evolved a lot in the last 18 years. And I think it's quite incredible how new research is coming out that really supports a lot of the traditional medicine we were using, plus some fascinating breakthroughs now. And I specialise in women's health. I just love it. I feel like if you can make a woman have a little bit more energy, feel a little bit better, more confident, it just has a ripple effect to everyone around them. So that's what I'm super passionate about. And I feel like I'm in the business of making women feel better. So it was a natural progression to the beauty. So I have released a skin supplement range, and that came out of my clients asking for something. And it was a natural progression into the beauty. And it's really beauty, wellness, making women feel great from the inside out, just gets represented onto their skin as well. So that's how I've got to where I am now.
Very cool. And I can imagine, I mean, we see the progression in, herbology and naturopathy and skin conditions and women's health conditions has just boomed so much over the last 3 years. I mean, can I ask you, what did it look like 18 years ago? Did people think you're a bit cray-cray joining,
Oh my
the
God.
industry?
Yes. And you know what? We were talking about gluten-free 20 years ago, and people were just saying we were quacks. And you look, there's a whole aisle at Coles now that is, so many gluten-free products available. We were talking about gut health for many, many, many years, and the microbiome and using probiotics. Again, we were quacks. And now that gets recommended a lot by doctors and pharmacists. There's so many things that are like, well, that's interesting, that is becoming a lot mainstream. And especially with COVID, I feel it's really made people think, all right, our health and wellness is very important, and what can we do about that too? So, yeah, it's been an interesting journey for sure.
Absolutely. I bet you every naturopath who's just been banging their head against the wall for the last 20, 30 years, who has just been on repeat, and now it's like naturopath's time to shine. They're going, yes, I'm finally here.
Oh, absolutely. And what kind of irritates me a little bit, this is showing a different side to me, doctors are starting to recommend supplements and things like that, and they call themselves integrated doctors. Don't get me wrong, there are amazing integrated doctors out there, and I work in with a lot of them. But it's interesting that they are forging the way forward. But naturopaths have been doing the groundwork for a very long time. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Hats off to you guys. And it's nice to see it coming into the mainstream media. And hey, we're going to chat about skin conditions and all of the internal health today. But I actually want to congratulate you on the launch of your most recent product, which is JOSO. Tell me about the product and how it came to life before we jump into our chat.
Yeah, great. So, my new brand of supplements, which is called JOSO, and our launch product, JOSO, came about, like I was mentioning before. A lot of my clients were coming in and they were asking, what can I do about my skin? How can I be more proactive? I feel that people, their knowledge and awareness of getting the inside right really does have an impact on their skin. And they are wanting just to be more proactive. So they'll bring in all their collagen products that they're using. And I'm thinking, this is amazing, fabulous that you're doing this. But I just didn't feel the products were really reaching the mark in my mind. So I went looking for products that I was happy with, couldn't find anything. So I thought, right, if I was to develop my own product, what would I have in it? And let's see if we can make this happen. So it was over 12 months of researching, formulating, developing, and actually getting JOSO manufactured. And we actually launched this year in January. So it's been super exciting. JOSO is a TGA listed product. TGA stands for Therapeutic Goods Administration. So what that means is JOSO has passed the rigorous regulations of the TGA. So that means it's very safe, it's of the highest quality and quality ingredients, and manufactured in quality Australian manufacturing facilities. And thirdly, and the most important aspect of it, is all the claims that we put on the bottle, like increasing collagen health and formation, skin elasticity, improving skin hydration, and all these other claims we've got on there are backed by science. And that's the biggest difference to other products and skin products out there. Most of them are just considered a food product and cannot make those claims. So, super excited about it, and actually in the process of talking to Mecca at the moment. yeah, they're very interested in taking it on board. So yeah, it's been such a great experience, and the feedback we're getting back is incredible. I'm so excited about that feedback. And what's really interesting is all the other benefits. So if you're looking after your skin from the inside out and giving it the nutrients and the herbal medicine and the antioxidants, it has a flow-on effect to the rest of your body. So, for example, I had a client yesterday who has Hashimoto's. It's a thyroid condition. And the only thing we've changed is her taking JOSO, and her antibodies have come down considerably. Disclaimer, JOSO does not treat autoimmune conditions. I just have to be clear. But it's just incredible, all the other benefits that come when you actually look after your skin. There's always going to be flow-on effects. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I can talk forever. So please interrupt me whenever you want. So yeah, very excited about it.
That's very cool. And I just want to touch base on what you were saying there about the TGA, because I think this is something which a lot of clients certainly don't know, but also a lot of therapists get confused about. So as you were mentioning, if a product is not TGA listed, then it's a food grade product, and the company may say things like may assist with reduction of inflammation or potential effects of anti-aging, right? So you've got that may and the word potential, which is kind of a gray area. But if you're going with the TGA and the product is TGA approved, then you can actually say will help with anti-aging or will assist with reducing redness. So you can actually make that claim because the TGA has said, tick, yes, this product will actually do that, which I think a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it's interesting with some of these food grade supplements out there, I've seen some of them make some pretty strong claims where they probably shouldn't, but they're not regulated. Interesting. Like, well, they are regulated, but they don't have a close eye on them. So I'm really fascinated with some big brands, what they can actually get away with. And if so just to be mindful, and how you know a product is TGA listed is on the label, there's an AUSTEL number at the front. So AUST and then L and then the number. So that does mean it's TGA listed.
Okay, that's good. I might link that in the show notes just so people can have a little look and find out more information if they're interested. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there the benefit of supplementation on skin. Can you talk more to that? And perhaps, you were just saying there about Hashimoto's. What kind of results have you been in contact with?
Yeah. So first thing I want to touch on with about supplements for skin in particular is we get our nutrients internally. There's only so much you can put topically that will actually get to the deeper layers of the skin. So absolutely, for collagen production, you're going to need zinc, you're going to need vitamin C, you're going to need a whole bunch of nutrients. Biotin is really helpful, plus the collagen peptides. You really need that internal medicine. Why also supplementation is good is ideally it would be great to get all our nutrients through our diet, through all those beautiful plant foods, fresh fruit and vegetables, good protein. But realistically, not many of us eat that well. Plus the vegetables that we're getting, fruit and veg, depending on where it's grown. So, for example, I'm in WA and our soils are very low in zinc, like barely any at all. So the fruits and veg that we're eating, there's not going to be much zinc in there. So that's something that we need to be mindful of. So taking a supplement that's going to bridge that gap is really great. And if you can get a supplement that's going to have an anti-inflammatory effect and those antioxidants as well, it's just going to be an added benefit to your skin. So the results have been quite incredible. And like I said, ones that we didn't expect. Yes, within 4 weeks, we are seeing the diminishing of fine lines. and the firmness and plumpness of the skin, definitely. And that's just really ramping up the body's own production of its collagen and reducing that inflammation. But amazing results on acne, rosacea, because we're reducing that inflammation, plus getting those healing nutrients to the skin. So I think a skin supplement, a really good one, is a great way to go for a lot of people.
Yeah, very, very cool. And as you said, I think a lot of people say, especially in consultations when we're talking about skin, yes, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating a balanced diet. And then when we kind of break it down, they might be having a piece of toast with some Vegemite and avocado on it in the morning. They might be having a salad wrap for lunch, and then, a meal of vegetables and maybe some meat and protein and things like that for dinner, which is okay. But we're kind of considering that to be balanced. But when you break it down, I mean, you've got some bread and you've got some Vegemite and like half a piece of avocado on there. You might have one lettuce leaf, one, slice of tomato and a piece of cheese. So when you actually break it down into individual ingredients that are in the meals, like we really aren't getting enough. We're not having half a bowl of spinach or half a bowl of kale for dinner. So I think just to kind of increase what we are having, it's not about supplementing the food. It's just about getting more nutrients that we should be eating, but we're perhaps not. And of course, we're all eating chocolate and coffee and all of the naughty things that we should do because we're all stressed out of our brain in 2021 and 2020. So I think when you put that and life into the mix, it's difficult to get in a balanced eating habit.
Oh, absolutely. And on that note, so I've been doing a lot of research into the microbiome over the past few years. And the microbiome, which is the good bacteria, the balance of good bacteria in your gut, really has a direct impact on your skin. And for the best microbiome, it's ideal to eat 40 different types of plant food a week. Wow. So like you said, if you're having your Vegemite toast with a piece of avocado, and you have that every morning, that only counts as maybe one plant food, maybe two because of the piece of bread. So I try to tell my clients, just keep mixing it up, having lots of different plant foods. If you're going to have an apple a day, change it around. Have a Granny Smith, have a Red Delicious. Just keep changing those plant foods because they all have different fiber makeup, and it's that fiber that feeds that microbiome. And we've got thousands of different species of bacteria in our gut, and they all require different amounts and types of fiber. So there's just some feedback. Just to keep aiming more plant food, you're going to get more nutrients, more antioxidants, and the different fiber as well. Yes, it's going to be difficult to do that. That's why taking a supplement can definitely help.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will stop buying my partner all of the Pink Lady apples in the big bucket, and I will buy him 5 different apples a week then.
Absolutely. And then that's 5. And another good tip, so I can get on tangents here, but, if you're having rice, have basmati rice, then change it up with jasmine, brown rice, black rice. There's your different type of plant foods there. So with a little bit of thought, you can definitely mix it up.
After the break, Natalie and I further explore gut health, lifestyle, and even the effects of blue light through the onset of aging. But first, a word from today's Beaute partner. Community, today's conversation has been all about health from the inside out. And if you're looking to gain total skin wellness, then look no further than Murad. Murad is all about inclusive skin health, delivering clinical results via a fully customizable capsule collection of professional treatments and a comprehensive range of retail products. Dr. Murad, dermatologist, pharmacist, and founder of the Murad brand, who you may remember we've spoken to on the podcast before, believes in science-backed professional skincare treatments combined with a total wellness approach. Simply put, Murad transforms skin through their products and their philosophies: skincare, healthcare, self-care. If you're serious about skin, contact info@murad.com.au, and listeners of the Beaute Industry podcast receive an enormous 50% off your first professional order of $500 or more, meaning you can stock Murad skincare in your skincare centre at half price, which is insanely generous. If you want to know more, start your skin wellness journey at murad.com.au and mention Beaute Industry to get 50% off your first professional skincare order. Thank you so much to the team at Murad Skincare Australia for making this episode possible. And now, back to Natalie. Hi team, just before jumping back into Natalie, I wanted to quickly jump on and apologise for the background baby screams you're about to hear in this second half of the episode. My husband Nathan was minding him after he woke up from a sleep and didn't quite marry up that I was recording in the room right next to where those two were playing. The screams kind of sound like something brutal is happening in the background, but I can promise you it's just a man trying to entertain a baby. Anyway, here's Natalie. Now, just staying in kind of theme with the gut health, obviously we know that there is a direct gut health link from the gut to skin conditions such as rosacea. And we know that it affects 1 in 10 clients. However, there are lots of different signs and lots of different symptoms which we see on the skin, and obviously you would have a chat about in the microbiome. Where shall we even begin? I mean, chatting about the conversation of rosacea, because it's a huge topic.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating, rosacea, because a lot of people experience it and it is increasing, especially over the last couple of years. So I wonder, how much stress plays a big part in it. And I know it does, but I wonder if that's the biggest cause of why it's getting worse. So rosacea is an inflammatory disease of the skin, and essentially what happens is there's a stimulus that makes those capillaries expand, multiple times, which can damage those capillaries, and that gives that redness look. And it can manifest in different ways, definitely. But essentially, if you look at it as an inflammatory disease, you need to find out what's causing that inflammation. And 9 out of 10 times, that inflammation is coming from the gut. And it's a hard one because I could have 10 rosacea clients and treat them all differently, depending on what's going on, what's their triggers. So it could definitely be a food trigger. So they could be sensitive to a food. And I generally do a food inflammation test with people to see what specifically could be their trigger. Looking at if they're reacting to red wine and cheeses and things, that could have an issue with histamine. So if you have a drink of wine and you go bright red, that's a good indicator that you're struggling with that histamine.
That's me. I'm like a beetroot.
Oh, absolutely. So that can be a trigger for a lot of people, and some people it can manifest even more into rosacea. The next thing, I suppose, is what else is going on in the gut. Like we mentioned, the microbiome, it's really important to make that working optimally. Bowel toxicity is another one, actually. So what's a good test for everyone to do, and what I do with my clients, is get them to do a bowel transit time test. So I get people to eat a whole bunch of corn kernels, and it's the one time I tell them, don't chew it, try and swallow as many as you get. Or you can actually use sesame seeds, a couple of teaspoons of sesame seeds, just eat them down. And then you time and see when you see them again in the toilet. Because it's quite incredible how people just are so not observant. And the ideal time is between 18 to 24 hours. If it's going longer than 24 hours, it means that it's a bit sluggish. And when your bowels are sluggish, it means you're reabsorbing a lot of toxicity. And amazing case I did, it was last year, it was a lady who was suffering rosacea, and she was a tiny little thing. Her figure, she was very small frame. And I said, let's do the bowel transit time. And she said, listen, I'm fine. I go every morning with no problems at all. And I said, let's just do it. And she did the corn test. She didn't actually see that corn for 6 days.
Wow.
So what was happening was she, even though she was going every day, she was quite compacted all the way through her gut. And when we got that working better, like more fruit and veg, more fluid and water, and a little bit of help with prebiotics and probiotics, then she was becoming a lot more regular, and the rosacea fixed itself. So it's quite amazing really to find out those triggers of what's causing that inflammation for the individual. And then there's parasites that can be triggering. So there's a whole bunch of things. So where I would start is a lot more water, a lot more plant foods. Dairy and gluten can be a big trigger. So removing those for a few weeks and see if it improves is a good place to start.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there with regards to treatment and treating every different type of rosacea uniquely and differently, because I know as a skin technician myself, we can sometimes get a little bit complacent and a little bit robotic in our prescriptions and in our treatment plans. And what works for one client, we can just kind of, rinse and repeat and do that on another client. It's only once we've completed the whole entire treatment program and the client hasn't ended up with that exact same result, do we go, okay, now I need to start again? So it is really important to step back to basics and assess everyone really individually so that we're not just repeating a carbon copy every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we could do a carbon copy. It would make my job so much easier. But yeah, we have to look at each individual.
For sure. Now, you mentioned there stress before, and we are seeing lots and lots of stress manifest on the skin, especially 2020 and 2021 with COVID and the wearing of masks. And we are seeing a lot of clients in clinic with acne and, that term maskne. What can clients be doing to avoid acne, when we have to wear masks and when we're so used to, putting this thing on our face, and we have to put it on our face all day, and we're just breathing into this same apparatus all day, every day, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I find I haven't actually treated this directly because we've been very lucky in Perth, and it's been a novelty for us to wear a mask now and then. So I have to say, but I think we have to look at the skin with its own specific microbiome. We have all this bacteria living happily on our skin, and that we're actually getting a lot of benefits from that bacteria as well. I think when we're wearing masks, it's going to change that environment for our microbiome and the bacteria there. So I think maybe choosing the right material as well with the mask that we're using more natural fibres. And I suppose, it's a really interesting one, because also I was thinking about cultures that cover masks on their faces, and I wonder if they struggle with these issues. I really wonder if it's the material they're using, and at any opportunity you can get those masks off. And I wonder using maybe specific essential oils in the mask could help as well combat some of that bacteria. But it's an interesting thing, and I haven't really got a solution because I haven't really worked with it. But I think to really nurture that skin microbiome would be essential.
Absolutely. I saw the other day, and I must have a little search for it a bit harder. It just came up on my my social media news feed, and then you click one thing and the algorithm changes and then you lose it, right? But it was a spray that it was almost like a toning hydration mist with antibacterial properties in it. So if you're wearing makeup all day and you've also got your mask on, you can just kind of spray it over. And so it antibacterializes the mask while also giving your skin these fantastic benefits. So, it's funny how fast our industry is to react and respond to new conditions and, kind of trends and insights that are happening, which is pretty cool space to be in. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just be careful of what antibacterial. Why I say that, I think some essential oils would be fine, just don't overdo it.
Yes.
Because of that microbiome on the skin, it's essentially, if you use too many antibacterials, it's going to have an antibiotic effect on the skin and kill off some of those good bacteria. So I'm very cautious of even saying essential oils. It will really depend on each person, I suppose. I think if we can just air your skin out using more natural masks, natural material masks would be the best way to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm even just thinking back to this is so off topic, but my son's nappies, they say like take the nappy off and give the little bum some airtime so that they don't get any rashes down there. Yeah, we need skin to breathe.
Yes, that's exactly what we need to do. Absolutely.
So then talk to me about lifestyle factors that are influencing some of your clients' results and their ability to achieve results. We obviously know the effects of vaping and smoking, and there's now blue light, and there's so many different things that we can kind of look at in terms of the client's health and what they're doing, because obviously we're only seeing the client for an hour a month sometime. It is a lot on them. How do you get your clients to, well, open the conversation, which can sometimes be a little bit awkward because you don't want to tell your clients, please stop smoking, but then come to the party and make sure that you are a partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem telling my clients to stop doing things. So that's not a problem at all. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. So smoking, thank goodness, everyone's kind of gets the whole smoking, it's not good. And the vaping still contains nicotine. It's still, that nicotine has a direct effect on the microvilli, the capillaries in your skin. It actually deadens them off. So when you see someone that's a chronic smoker, you can see that grey appearance in their skin. That's just just one of many issues of smoking. I think things that I'm seeing a lot of now is, so that blue light, you were saying, yes, we're in front of our phones and our laptops and things like that. But blue light is actually coming in of our LED lighting as well. So whenever we're inside, we're actually getting exposed to blue light. There are some benefits of blue light, but too much does have an effect on our eyes and on our skin, and it can increase, that aging process. And what's kind of cool, we try to address this with the JOSO product. We utilise some amazing antioxidants from the marigold flower, lutein and zeaxanthin, which have this amazing research to back up how it protects the retinas from blue light exposure and can have a protective effect against blue light in the skin as well. So that was really important for me as well. And we're only really at the forefront of finding out the real damage that's been happening. So just having that internal kind of protection is kind of cool. On that, and other things that I see as a lifestyle issue for skin, the huge one is sugar.
Yeah.
All right. Sugar is really quite toxic to our bodies. And in regards to the skin, so when we eat sugar, there's a process called a glycation process. So the sugar actually connects to the protein molecule. So and actually can break down that protein, and it will release free radicals and cause a lot of damage. And as a result of that, it will cause that sagging of your skin and will cause just premature aging and those kind of things. And also, it will also compromise the barrier of the skin. So we'll stop healing being so efficient in the skin. So that's sugar all around, not good for your skin. It's interesting that there was a study on tuck shop arms. That, you know, when you put your arm up and you wave and you call them tuck shop arms. I don't know if you guys,
bingo arms, that's me.
Oh, bingo arms, yes. Well, as women particularly get older, that gets worse, but they've noticed that the sugar, that glycation process will cause that to happen more, even though that people can be the same weight and size and frame. The sugar will actually make that skin a lot looser and not as healthy. So I found that really interesting. So sugar, it does creep in. We're all stressed. We're wanting that quick energy hit because we're just so over it and fatigued. But it does have quite damaging effects to our bodies.
Unfortunately, I am a very big sweet tooth.
And it's just, it really shows, listen, you've got a little bub, you've got to just feel yourself however you can. But when you're reaching for that sugar all the time, you've got to ask, why is that happening? Why am I reaching for that? And kind of work out the underlying cause there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key to every single kind of skin condition I'm thinking of now and just every internal triggers is just boost up those antioxidants. Hey, I mean, the antioxidant's going to balance out that free radical damage. It's going to assist with the advanced glycation end products. It's going to assist with the reactive oxygen species. I mean, it's like antioxidant is kind of just the hero in every skin condition. Hey.
Oh, absolutely. And things like green tea. Oh my God, green tea is amazing. So everyone should be drinking green tea. It's my most favorite therapy because of those antioxidants capacity in green tea. We also in JOSO utilize kakadu plum because it's amazing vitamin C content. It's actually nature's highest source of vitamin C. Plus, it's got all these powerhouse antioxidants in there as well. So, yeah, looking at antioxidants plus anti-inflammatory, any way you can reduce that inflammation is going to work. Unfortunately, stress, when you're stressed and you release cortisol will instantly release inflammatory markers. So just be mindful of, it's so hard to tell people to stop stressing. It's difficult, but to kind of bring in those practices every day just to have that time out and try and calm that nervous system.
Absolutely. I find personally just writing things down gets stuff out of my head and onto paper, you know, because I think especially as women, and hello to the men listening, but as women, we have so much on our minds at any one time. I remember when my partner and I, 10 years ago when we got together, I used to lie there as a 21-year-old and go, what are you thinking? And he would just look at me and go, not much, or what's for lunch or something, you know, and meanwhile my mind's just going tick, 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 tick with 1,000 miles an hour because we just carry so much in there.
Oh, absolutely. We're very complex creatures, I think. And I think I would scare my husband if he actually knew what was going on in my brain at one time.
Oh, yeah, it's a mess in there.
It's a mess, definitely. It's quite incredible how we can keep functioning.
So then talk to me, if we have a therapist who is looking at the skin and they kind of just want to give their client a few just basic steps to getting back to skin health and, you know, a few little principles in which they can kind of help their client get back on track, where would we go and how would we start that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest one is hydration. It doesn't cost us anything to be hydrated, but dehydration will actually trigger a whole cascade of reactions in the body. Inflammation being a massive component of that. So yeah, making sure you're drinking a lot of water. And what I tell my clients is, when your urine is clear to very pale, you're drinking enough water. That would be the biggest one. The second, that's sugar. Get rid of the sugar. It's going to help and be very anti-inflammatory. I think without doing any food inflammation tests or anything, I think gluten and dairy are a massive inflammatory issue for most people. Traditionally, when we were having milk and wheat, maybe when I was a kid, or, even longer ago, it was totally different type of dairy and type of gluten. Gluten right now it's been kind of modified so much that it's drought resistant, mold resistant, everything resistant, that the gluten molecule is such a tough little molecule that we just can't break it down. So it's very inflammatory in our gut. Spelt grains and the traditional grains, the gluten is very brittle, so our digestive tract can actually deal with it quite well. I'm digressing again on my gluten rant, but just these days, dairy and the gluten that we're eating and seeing, it's quite inflammatory. And you can just remove those for 2 weeks and you can see a massive difference in how you feel, your gut function, and just that clearing in your skin. So yeah, dairy, increasing water, reducing the gluten and dairy and sugar would probably be a good place to start. Supplement-wise, I think getting a good supplement with zinc in it. JOSO with Powerhouse full of zinc. Zinc is like the mineral for skin, just because of its capacity to help build your own collagen, plus that healing component of zinc, I think, is always a good nutrient for people to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Water is just so essential. And I'm wondering, have you seen the documentary What's with Wheat with Cindy O'Meara?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh my goodness, you would eat it up, excuse the pun. It is so good. I'm going to put that link in the show notes. It's just so interesting, as you said, from the wheat that we were eating as children to the wheat that we've got now, and how it's processed, how it's just multiplied, and what it actually ends up on our plate. I mean, bread used to last so much longer than it does now because it just goes off because there's so many chemicals in it. It's just, yes, such an interesting documentary to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, it is a big issue, unless we look at some of these more traditional grains and spelt. Yeah.
So then when it comes to skin therapist, obviously there's so much to look at. I mean, we're looking at skin, which links into gut, which links into healthy eating habits, which links into stress. I mean, there's only so many questions we can ask a client. And realistically, we aren't naturopaths and we should leave that up to the experts. So, suggesting things to a client like, increasing water or having a more healthy and balanced eating habits. I don't like to use the word diet because no one likes the word diet, right? Yeah. But eating habits. We really shouldn't be telling the client to introduce zinc because we shouldn't be prescribing. Is that the point in which they would recommend somebody like you to have a consultation with their client? And then how do you take over that conversation so that you're also assisting the skin and that practitioner?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we all can't be experts in everything. I don't know anything about topicals, nothing at all. I've got enough work on my plate just keeping up to date with all the research in my area. So when you can work collaboratively with other clinicians, that's where the magic truly happens. And I think I've seen some amazing clinics work with naturopaths in there with their dermal therapists. One, for example, is My Skin, so MISKN clinic in Perth. They are an incredible skin clinic that it just works synergistically together. A naturopath can really achieve great results for skin. And the same with a skin therapist. But when you bring it together, that's when you really creates magic and some amazing results. So I think, and I work with some other skin specialists as well. I think, for any kind of dermal specialists out there wanting to go that way, get in touch with some local naturopaths. And when I'm working with them, we keep in touch with emails. We get the patient's permission that we can communicate between each other and let each other know what we're doing. That works really well. And I think we're moving towards a more collaborative way of treating clients. So I think get some great people in your network where you can bounce people around, not bounce them around, but share their care. I think it's definitely the way of the future. And I think, yes, you can give some recommendations with diet and some simple supplement recommendations. But when you're really dealing with the underlying issues and gut health and things like that, getting a naturopath on board would be wonderful.
Absolutely. So a skin specialist could kind of just open the conversation, prescribe obviously topical and then treatments, maybe something like JOSO. But then if we don't get that further need, then we go, okay, it's time to dig a bit deeper here and then refer on, because we don't want to be treating out of scope either.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you can explain that there could be some food triggers happening, there could be some inflammation, and we're just not geared to really test for it. Or have the understanding of where that's coming from. So that's where the naturopath has those resources to really dive deeper into what's going on.
Absolutely. Natalie, so much gold shared in this conversation today. Thank you so much. There is so many notes to be made. I'm sure skin specialists are sitting there writing down furiously, and perhaps we need to replay this conversation again so that we take in all of that magic and share that with our clients. Appreciate your time today.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Honestly, every single time I come off a conversation with one of our guests, I feel just that much more wise from listening to them share their knowledge with us, and how special that we can have such experts at our fingertips. I've linked all of the bits and pieces that Natalie and I spoke about today in the episode's show notes, which you can take a look at by swiping up in your podcast app. While you're there, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you can be notified when we drop our weekly episodes. Remember to share this episode with your friends and your work colleagues if you've learnt something from today's chat, and make sure to tag us at Beaute Industry and at Natalie McGrath Naturopath so we can see who is leveling up. Until next time, stay connected.